Chapter 446, The Hatred in Prison. Mom, why don't you reflect on yourself now that things have come to this? Anne is a good child. Usually she doesn't provoke you, so why can't you accept her? Young couldn't understand. What good child? Why don't you take a look? That girl is malicious and keeps forcing me. The moment she entered the house, I knew she wasn't a good person. Sashimi didn't give up. Mom, since that's the case, I am not prepared to let you out. After all, you don't have a son like me in your heart. Young felt that there was nothing much to say in this world, so he could only let old Mrs. Land stay here to reflect. You bastard! She watched as Young hung up the phone, and she slammed the glass and shouted, "Come back, you uninfiled son!" But it didn't help no matter how much she shouted. Crap, are we really going to jail? Su Yanchan broke down completely. If you knew this was the case, why did you do it? I'll have to be like me and not regret it. The fat woman smiled foolishly at the side. After leaving the police station, Young wiped his tears. He didn't want to do it, but reality was too cruel. In the distance, Yaxon didn't enter, but hid quietly. She took a taxi to the prison. Tingy was excited to see his daughter, but there wasn't a trace of emotion on Yaxon's face. Yaxon, why are you alone? Where's your grandmother? Why isn't your mom here? Yaxon was expressionless as she said, "They won't be coming." Tingy had thought about everything Ayn Rand said to him the last time and suddenly suspected whether she said was true. What happened to them? Tell me, what happened to you? He was extremely agitated. Grandma and Mom were both arrested. They were arrested just like you, leaving me alone in the house. Yaxon couldn't help but cry. What? What happened? Tell me, stop crying. Tingy was anxious. Grandma and Mom wanted to take revenge on Ayn Rand, but they were defeated by her. They're now in the detention center, and second uncle doesn't want Grandma and Mom to come out. It's only me now. Yaxon was sobbing uncontrollably. Tingy finally understood. Young had put righteousness before family. Bastard, he won't even let Mom off when I'm not around. Yaxon, you have to stay strong. My performance in prison has been good, and I'll be released in a few months. When the time comes, I'll teach Young's family a lesson. Yaxon shook her head and continued to cry. Dad, Mom asked me to marry a fool previously because they were rich, but I didn't want to. I didn't have the ability to let you lead a good life. Silly girl, why would I blame you? Don't worry, I will avenge you when I'm out. Tingy promised, but was reminded of Ayn Rand's words. These past few months, he had been in jail. Only Xu Yanshan was with his child at home. She must be lonely. He continued, Yaxon, let me ask you, why haven't you visited me in such a long time? How has your mom been? He was still worried. Yaxon shook her head. Not good. Ayn Rand bullied Grandma and Mom previously. Now the whole family is relying on Grandmother's pension to live. Second uncle isn't even giving us a pension, and how can we live with Grandma's pension of 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month? Tingy felt his heartache as he thought about it. His daughter had lost weight, so it turned out that his mother and wife's life was this miserable. Previously, they had hundreds of thousands a month, but now they didn't even have a single cent. They must be very poor, right? What? That's horrible. Yaxon, you should lead a good life during this period of time. So whatever valuable is at home first, and we'll talk it out when I'm out. Tingy was furious, but he had no choice. Yaxon nodded. She came here to tell her father about this so as to agitate them. Dad, don't worry. I'll definitely work hard and lead a good life, waiting for yours and Mom's return. Yaxon cried terribly and slowly hung up. After leaving the prison, she wiped her tears forcefully. At this point, she could only sell herself. Meanwhile, Ayn Rand was eating fruits and vegetables on the hospital bed when she suddenly received news from Sheng Li. You've been lying down for good enough. How's the thing I asked you to do? Uncle, don't be anxious. I'm helping you with this, but the amount is too much. I'm going to make a fake account, so I need quite a bit of time. Ayn Rand spoke unhurriedly. She could only buy time. Don't play tricks. Hurry up and do it, or I won't forgive you, Sheng Li threatened. Ayn Rand hung up without a care. Damn it, how dare she hang up? Sheng Li hugged Qin Shu in dissatisfaction. Who are you talking to? Qin Shu laid in Sheng Li's arms. The Mo family's informant. Sheng Li waved his wine glass and said, Really? Why do I find that voice familiar? Kinshu thought it was Anran. Kid, you have sharp ears. It was Anran. She's my informant. She wouldn't dare to ignore me when I hold her secrets. Shengli smiled, appearing very proud. Tell me about her secrets. Kinshu wanted to find out Anran's secrets from Shengli, which was very important to her. You want to know? I'll tell you once you serve me well. Shengli wasn't a person who would make a losing deal. Since Kinshu was the one who looked for him, then he definitely wouldn't let her off. The two of them covered themselves with blankets, and it had been more than an hour since they'd been in bed together. Can you tell me now? Kinshu panted as she said. It's nothing actually. I can't tell you now. I have my own plan. Don't ruin it. Shengli knew that she wanted revenge. He wouldn't reveal such an important matter so easily. So you lied to me? Kinshu said unhappily. How did I? I just think that it's important and can't be shared with others, Shengli explained. But Kinshu wouldn't believe his nonsense. And it means that you're lying to me. If you don't trust me, then I'm leaving. Kinshu pretended to leave but was stopped by him. Wait a minute, why are you in such a hurry? All right, I'll tell you, but you can't tell anyone else, Shengli said. Of course, go ahead. Kinshu desperately wanted to know Anran's secret. Actually, Anran slept with several men in the countryside. She was only 15 years old back then. Shengli spoke seriously. Kinshu took it seriously. What? Mo Jinrong's woman is actually such a woman? Damn it, she's not even worthy of Jinrong. What a joke. I thought she was a good person, but I didn't expect her to be such a slut. You're not allowed to say that to others, Shengli reminded her repeatedly. Kinshu promised that she would keep it a secret, but in reality she was already thinking of how to use it to threaten Anran. Mr. Mo, have you thought about what to do with the Mo family? She probed. If she could find out Shengli's plan and report it to Jinrong, then she could take over Anran's position, and she would still have a chance of getting with Jinrong. Chapter 447, You Are Mine. Of course, but I can't tell you the details of the plan. When I succeed, you'll be the young mistress of the Mo family. He tapped the bridge of her nose with a loving smile. Kinshu nodded. It seemed that this sly old fox wasn't easy to trick and would require some effort. Mr. Mo, I can't let my father and brother know about today's incident. This is my first time. You have to be responsible for me, Kinshu hugged Shengli and said. Don't worry, I'll treat a beauty like you well. At this moment, Shengli's phone rang. Mr. Mo, I called you so many times. Did you not hear the phone ringing? The man on the phone asked. Hurry and speak, Shengli said impatiently. When are you going to send Yaxin to Mo Jinrong's bed? Are you even serious about this? Tan Shilin asked from his office. Shengli suddenly sat up and spoke seriously. Of course I'm serious about this. But are you prepared to help Yaxin? I just couldn't give her an answer when she called, so I had to ask you first. How about this? Jinrong will probably attend a cocktail party in 2 days. Bring Yaxin over and we'll find an opportunity. It should be easy to handle. Kinshu's expression changed. She couldn't tolerate this old fox sending a woman to Jinrong's bed. After Shengli hung up, Kinshu had an unhappy expression. Baby, what's happened to you? He lowered his head and looked at Kinshu, thinking that she was unhappy because he neglected her. How about this? I'll buy you whatever you want and you can use this card. Shengli generously threw a card to Kinshu. Kinshu didn't lack any money and she was unhappy when she took the hat. Why are you unhappy when I've given you money? Shengli asked. I'm the young lady of the Qin family. Do you think I lack money? She raised an eyebrow. He suddenly remembered what he said. Was she jealous of Yaxin? The person on Jinrong's bed can only be me. She was furious. Suddenly, Shengli grabbed her neck. Let me tell you, I'm the only man who is allowed in your heart and the only one in your bed. If you like Jinrong, then I'll ruin your love. Shengli looked at her with angry eyes. Kinshu's face was flushed red from his grip and she was having difficulty breathing. Her eyes were thick with tears and her hand kept patting his. Let go. I don't dare. She tried her hardest to get these words out. Shengli released her. Remember this, you're mine. If you think about Jinrong again, I'll rip your head off and use it as a soccer ball. Kinshu nodded and coughed a few times, looking at him in horror. I'm not in the mood now. Get lost. He waved his hand and picked up the clothes on the ground. Kenshi was scared stiff. I have a heart problem. Don't use so much force next time. She got out of bed and said. She wore her clothes silently and left. After leaving the hotel, she felt relieved. Cheng-Li was simply a devil. But now she knew about Ayn Rand, and she would be in for a treat. When Ayn Rand heard that Zhao Xunmin was in prison, she looked upset, but inside she was overjoyed. Ayn Rand, don't be sad. Your grandma's incident isn't your fault. Liu comforted her daughter unhappily. Ayn Rand shook her head. Mom, Grandma and Aunt must hate me to death, but I don't know what I did wrong to make them treat me like this. Ayn Rand, don't be sad. Your grandmother's incident isn't serious. I've asked the police, and they'll sentence her for at most half a year. Ting Yang had asked the police how long Zhao Xunmin would be locked up before leaving. Half a year? Ayn Rand nodded, but she wasn't satisfied with just half a year. That old thing should be sentenced to death. Don't be upset. Liu comforted her. In fact, she hated old Mrs. Lan to the core. Her daughter had been bullied by old Mrs. Lan, and life imprisonment was a bargain. Dad, I'm almost healed. I want to go home. Ayn Rand stood up to pack her things. All right, be careful on the road. I'll get Jinrong to send you off. Liu called Jinrong and told him to pick Ayn Rand up from the hospital. Ayn Rand, let's go home now. Jinrong helped her into the car. I'm not going home. I'm going to the police station to see that old lady. Ayn Rand smiled, seeming to have transformed into a different person. Jinrong found it strange, but he agreed. At the police station, Zhao Xunmin and Xu Yanchen were in despair. They knelt on the ground with no hope. Because of that fat woman, Zhao Xunmin didn't dare to cry. Mom, are we really going to accompany Tingy? Xu Yanchen was in despair. What if I'll pretend I never raised this son? Zhao Xunmin was heartbroken. Ayn Rand and Jinrong walked in. When they saw her, they rushed over like they were crazy. You! They slapped the glass hard to vent their anger. Grandma, Aunt, are you all right inside? Don't worry, this isn't a prison. It's just a detention center. You'll know what's right and wrong when you're in prison. Ayn Rand smiled and said, Damn it, why don't you just die? Xu Yanchen cursed. You're in the wrong. I even helped introduce your daughter to a rich husband. Don't forget, you're about to discuss the marriage. But now that you're in prison, I have spoken to the Zhu family. The marriage is cancelled, and the foolish son-in-law is gone. Ayn Rand smiled and said. Jinrong watched quietly from behind. He felt that the current Ayn Rand is her true appearance. You beast! Jinrong, look carefully. This is your woman, an ingrate, an impolite woman. She is meant to be the young mistress of the Mo family. Zhao Xunmin was furious. Her exquisite hairstyle was gone, and now she was a complete shrew. There's no need for you to care about my woman. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have become like this. Jinrong was always on Ayn Rand's side. You bastard! I'll make sure you suffer when I'm out. Zhao Xunmin made a vow. Come out? Grandma, what kind of dreams are you having? Are you still thinking of coming out to take my father's money? I'll sue you first, and then I'll charge you more for crimes. Have you forgotten about the kidnapping? Kidnapping is at least 10 years jail time. Grandma, I wonder how long you can know in these. Ayn Rand covered her mouth and smiled. Xu Yanchen softened. She begged, Ayn Rand, I didn't hurt you. Let me out. Ayn Rand smiled again, even more incessantly. Let you out? Don't you know what kind of sins you committed in your past life? Don't you know how much you hurt me? Ayn Rand's eyes grew redder as she spoke. Chapter 448. A Girl's the Story. Xu Yanchen didn't know what she was saying, but she wanted to get out no matter what. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Let me go. I promise I won't go against you. In fact, old Mrs. Lan instructed me to do all this. I didn't do it voluntarily. Xu Yanchen, what are you saying? Zhao Xunmin was shocked. Why was she to blame? Mom, I'm sorry. I want to leave this place. I can't protect you anymore, Xu Yanchen cried. What a show, but Grandma, are you able to take the blame when you're this old? Ayn Rand smiled and said, Ayn Rand, don't be so complacent. I won't forgive you even if I die and become a ghost, Zhao Xunmin furiously cursed. Ayn Rand didn't care. The heavens wouldn't forgive her. Is that so? Well, I have a pretty good idea. I can let you go, but only one of you can come out. I can discuss who will be the scapegoat. Ayn Rand hung up. The two of them looked at each other and she answered and spoke. Mom, I'm still young and I have a bright future. I don't want to go to jail. Tingy's already in jail and I don't feel at ease leaving Yaxon alone. She can't come with parents that are both in jail. She and Yan-Chen knelt down. Sashimi looked at Shi Yan-Chen with tears in her eyes. She was old and would probably die of old age in prison. She couldn't go to jail either. Yan-Chen, let me out. I'll save you when I'm out. Tingyang is my son after all. As long as I cause a scene, he'll definitely agree. Sashimi spoke with tears in her eyes. Shi Yan-Chen shook her head. She didn't believe old Mrs. Lance's idea, and it was useless to create trouble now. Besides, Tingyang was here before and seemed determined. She couldn't be able to convince him. The two of them were in a deadlock. Janong and Anran leaned against each other, watching the two of them act. Anran, are you really going to let her out of jail? She's your grandma. Janong couldn't understand why Anran seemed to have a blood feud with her biological grandmother. Let me tell you a story. A girl was sent to the countryside when she was young. She ate leftovers from others and wore old clothes. She could only have a good meal during the New Year. Back then, she hated her parents until she grew up. Suddenly, one day, her father came to her and said that he wanted her to be involved in a marriage. She didn't know that it was someone her cousin didn't want, and it was humiliating to her. She couldn't resist and wanted revenge. This is the only thought in her heart for all those years. Hannah spoke tirelessly, her eyes occasionally glistening with tears. She used all her strength and racked her brains to hate everyone. She took revenge on those who bullied her. She hated her parents and her husband. Even if that person used all his life to love her, he didn't get any good out of it. At this time, her parents treated her a little better. She felt a little warm, but it was instigated by her malicious uncle and grandmother. Back then, she thought the person who treated her best was her cousin, but she was wrong. She believed her cousin's words and watched as her uncle's family killed her parents and her husband. Her husband died in front of her, and she will always remember the pain. In the end, she understood that her cousin lied to her, and she was forced off a cliff by her cousin, ending her humiliating life. Anran cried silently, which confused Jinrong even more. The first half of the story was very moving. He seemed to have seen his own shadow, but he couldn't understand the second half. He was puzzled by the latter half of the story. This didn't seem to have what happened in real life. Is that the story about you? He asked in disbelief. Anran wiped her tears and smiled without a word. If she said anything, others would think that she was lying and putting on a front. She didn't know if he believed her words. She turned her head and looked at the two people in a small detention center. They were still discussing, and when it seemed like they were going to start a fight, "What are you doing? Are you done? It's so noisy." The fat woman was furious. She had been listening to their bickering ever since she was here. "Yan-Chen, I'm old. I can't hold on for more than a few years. Why don't you let me retire outside?" Sashimi spoke gently again. "Mom, you have free food and lodging here. What are you afraid of? I'm still young and Yaxon still needs her mother," Yan-Chen said furiously. Old Mrs. Land had just so many years left, so it would be a waste for her to escape jail. Nan patted herself and yawned. "Have you discussed it? Who's coming out?" Nan asked. "I'm coming out." The two of them were pushing and shoving each other. The police shouted, "What is the fighting here? It's only been half a day." The two of them fell silent. Anna didn't speak, looking at the two of them quietly. "Anna, I know I've let you down, but I know my mistakes. Can you forgive me?" Sashimi spoke softly. "Forgive? What right do you have to ask about forgiveness?" "Prepare to retire in prison." Anran hung up angrily. Anran! Sashimi couldn't accept it. She watched the two of them leave and felt uncomfortable. "It's your fault. We would have made it out otherwise," Yan-Chen grumbled. "Yan-Chen, what is wrong with you? You don't usually behave like this." Sashimi was furious at Yan-Chen's performance today. "Mom, to be honest, you should take the blame. I'm still young, but you're already very old. The prison is equivalent to a nursing home. I'll find a good lawyer to save you once I'm out," Yan-Chen said. "What nonsense is that?" Sashimi was furious. "Oh, Mrs. Lan, I think she's right. How old are you? I heard that the food and drinks are in prison. Isn't it better than a nursing home?" The fat woman smiled. Sashimi fell silent. She didn't want to go to jail, but she had to endure it for the sake of her children. Mom, I'll get the warden to send a letter out. It's settled. I'm going out. She answered and was overjoyed. Sashimi didn't speak. She lowered her head and cried. Chapter 449, Shopping. After coming out, Mojiran took a cigarette and was about to light it when Ainran snatched it and placed it in her mouth. Jinrong was stunned. His woman smoked? You... Ainran snatched the lighter and lit the cigarette with familiarity, looking like an old hand. I don't usually smoke. It's just that I'm a little frustrated today. She smoked a cigarette like she was used to it. The way she puffed made Jinrong a little dumbfounded. Are you that girl in the story? Jinrong asked curiously. You believe me? She turned her head and took a deep breath. Jinrong nodded. I believe whatever you say. Ainran smiled and didn't answer. She couldn't believe that the outrageous truth, let alone Jinrong. Get in the car. Let's go home. She turned to get into the car when the warden suddenly ran over. Wait a minute. Your grandma and auntie asked me to pass you a message. They said that your aunt wants to go out, and they want to help you find a lawyer. Hannah smiled with tears in her eyes. She's still the same. Tell her that the offer has expired. I won't forgive them. She turned and got into the car, Jinrong following behind after her. She took one last puff, threw the cigarette out the window, and leaned against Jinrong's shoulder, closing her eyes and slowly falling asleep. She had a dream about what they did to her in her past life, but also about today, a smile suddenly appearing on her face. Ainran returned home and laid on the bed exhausted. Later asked Jinrong about the incident in detail, and tears suddenly welled up in her eyes. It's our fault that she has such a miserable life. It's only right that she hates her grandma now. I just hope that she'll live a peaceful life in the future. Mom, don't worry. I'll take good care of Ainran. I know that she may seem very strong, but her heart is very fragile. Jinrong felt bad for his wife, and a ripple appeared in his heart when he saw her tired figure. Upstairs, Ainran buried her head in a blanket and secretly wiped her tears. She didn't know whether she was glad they were in jail or sad for herself, but she couldn't stop the tears from falling. At the moment, Kinshu's message agonized her. She wiped her tears and looked at the message on her phone. I know your secret. You better come and meet me. Kinshu's tone was threatening. Secret? Ainran was confused. How did she know her secret? Was it a trap? Ainran first picked up a place to let Kinshu go. She then let Fatty and Skinny hide in the surroundings so that they could provide support if anything happened. Boss, how long has it been since you accepted a mission? We're all rotten, Skinny grumbled. Payments will be sent as usual. You guys are on paid leave now, so what's to be dissatisfied about? Cut the crap and go squat. Ainran spoke swiftly. She arranged to meet Kinshu in a small tea house in the evening, so she was in a hurry as there was still time. She probably heard some gossip and wanted to threaten her, so she wasn't afraid. She sent a message to Ki Chao asking her out to shop. Where are you going? Tingyun watched Ainran come down excitedly. She seemed to be in a good mood, unlike how she was just now. I'm shopping with friends. Ainran wore jeans and had her hair tied up into a ponytail. She carried her bag and smiled. Mom, Dad, I'll send her off. I'm leaving. Jinrong bid his parents farewell and sent Ainran out. Ainran, who are you shopping with? Jinrong chased after her and asked. Ki Chao, I'm giving her the day off. Do you have any objections? Ainran smiled and said, Of course not. You call the shots. Jinrong thoughtfully opened the door for her and went to pick Ki Chao up. Ki Chao was waiting for Ainran at the Mo Corporation's entrance when Zhao Han suddenly appeared in a sports car. He honked. Miss Ki Chao, please get into the car. I'm showing you around. Ki Chao took off her sunglasses and smiled when she saw Zhao Han. Boss Zhao, why are you so free today? Don't you have work? I'm the boss. What I say is the law. Zhao Han smiled. Now that he was in charge of the company, who could stop the boss from going out? I knew it. My brother is always up to no good when he goes out. Are you really my sister-in-law? Zhao Xiaolei suddenly darted from behind and smiled. Xiaolei? What are you doing here? Zhao Han turned to look at his sister. She was also driving a sports car, a striking red Ferrari. I'm here to see what you're doing. I took a day off to visit the Anne ran, but I didn't expect you to be here. Come on. Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said, when did you get your license? Don't tell me you drove without a license. Zhao Han couldn't remember when his sister had gotten her license, but she had bought a car. What? You don't care about me at all. Is my new sports car pretty? Zhao Xiaolei smiled. Who told you to come? Hurry home. Zhao Han chased her away. No, sis-in-law, do you like my brother? He's not bad, right? She got out of the car and held Qichao's hand. Xiaolei! Zhao Han tried to stop her, but Anran and Jinrong happened to be at the entrance of the company. Qichao, let's go. Anran was surprised to see 2 cars waiting for Qichao. It seems that Miss Qichao is quite popular today, Jinrong said. Qichao, choose for yourself. You promised me first. Anran smiled and said. Qichao thought for a moment and was troubled. Men and friends were both important. Anran, don't you see me? Xiaolei turned her head and spoke unhappily. Xiaolei, what are you doing here? Since you're here, why don't you come shopping with us? Anran invited her. She hadn't seen Xiaolei in a long time, and today was a good chance for them to catch up. Qichao, come with me. Zhao Han got out of the car and pulled Qichao towards him. I'll take care of whatever you want to buy today. I wonder when you'll agree. Zhao Han sighed. Zhao Han and I... Alright, Miss Qichao, don't say any more. I said I would wait, so there's no hurry. Zhao Han was avoiding the topic. He was afraid of hearing that answer. Qichao didn't know what to say. She sighed and looked out the window. They arrived at the shopping mall, and the few luxury cars attracted the attention of others, while the few people who alighted attracted even more attention. Wow, handsome men and beautiful women. The passerbys were envious. Isn't that Lan Yanran's sister and the Mo family CEO? She's here to shop? Passerbys took out their phone and took photos. Janelle naturally held her hand under everyone's gaze. Oh, they're holding hands, a woman shouted. Zhao Han wanted to grab Qichao's hand, but he didn't dare. Zhao Xiaolei called her brother a coward from behind. Brother, why are you so useless? Hurry, she muttered softly. Chapter 450, Playing Hard to Get. Seeing that Zhao Han still didn't react, she went forward to hold Qichao's arm, and Zhao Han's arm to help her brother recover his dignity. Sis-in-law, what do you like? I'll get my brother to pay for it. Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said. Qichao carried a bag and smiled. I want a cup of milk tea. Brother, hurry. Zhao Xiaolei nudged Zhao Han. He found a milk tea shop and suddenly remembered that he hadn't asked her what she wanted to drink, and ran over to ask. What do you want to drink? Hey, you're just buying for Qichao and not us? Anran said teasingly. What do you guys want to drink? Zhao Han amended his question. I don't want anything. Jinrong hated drinking such things. I want. Zhao Xiaolei ordered a cup for herself and one for Anran. Qichao, what do you want to drink? Zhao Han asked again. Coffee. I don't want to drink milk tea anymore. I want a latte with extra milk, no sugar, extra ice cubes, Qichao said. Let's go shopping. You can buy first. Anran pulled Qichao to the other side and said. Xiaolei followed with dissatisfaction. Anran, why are you always picking on my brother? I'm not. Qichao is my good sister. You should at least let me examine him, right? Anran smiled and said. Xiaolei turned to look at her brother, standing in queue like a little fool. There definitely won't be a problem with my brother. He really likes her, and he's never liked a person like this before. Qichao looked at the man. He seemed to be good, but she wasn't good enough for him. Not far away, Jinrong was with Zhao Han. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Qichao. Do you really like her? Zhao Han nodded. She's really great. You aren't trying to use such methods to poach her, right? Jinrong guessed. Boss Mo, I wouldn't use such a despicable method. Don't worry. I hope you really like her, but Qichao doesn't seem to be an easy target. You have to work hard. Jinrong felt that Qichao wasn't easy to woo with her aloofness. Boss Mo, can you get Anran to put in a good word for me? Qichao is indeed difficult to woo. Zhao Han was stumped. Of course, but I'm not doing this for nothing. The Zhao family attended my banquet last time, so I want to know how the sales of the medicine went. To be honest, your recipe is good, but the agreed price is very low. We don't earn money and we're basically incurring losses. However, my dad said that he wouldn't raise the price and will get his money back sooner or later, Zhao said as he went to buy the coffee. Mr. Zhao is a practical person. In that case, I'll help you out just this once. I'll talk to Kicha about it, don't worry, Jinrong promised. Thank you, Boss Mo. Zhao took the cup of coffee and ran over to Kicha. Your beloved is here, Anran teased. Kicha, tell me what else you want. I'll buy it. Zhao was silly when it came to relationship. Let me take a look, Kicha said. Sis-in-law, don't stand on ceremony. My brother is rich. Zhao Shalai smiled and said, Don't keep talking about me. I haven't heard anything about your work recently. If you really want to start from the bottom, please behave yourself and don't drive a sports car. Which person starting from the bottom drives a Ferrari to work? Zhao chided. You should chase your wife as well. No wonder you couldn't win her heart. Zhao Shalai was furious. Okay, don't talk about her anymore. Let's go check out the perfumes. Anran smiled and said, Forget it, I'm hungry. I want to eat, Kicha said. Alright, then let's have a French feast. Anran was energized. What's going on? You seem very happy, Shalai said. Yes, I feel great. Anran walked towards the restaurant. In the dining room, Zhao thoughtfully pulled out a chair for them. Anran asked when he was retrieving the food. What are you thinking? Zhao is a pretty good person. He's not bad, but I don't know my thoughts. Want to marry me off so badly? Kicha tilted her head and asked. No, I just think that the Zhao family is a uncomplicated family. Zhao is hard to come by, Anran smiled and said, That's right, sister-in-law. My brother is an honest man. He is courting you, and he is very handsome. Although he isn't as perfect as Boss Mo, he's not so bad. Most importantly, you're the one he likes. Zhao Shalai said as she munched on her steak. Kicha smiled, but didn't express her thoughts. She really didn't know. Zhao came back with the food and looked at Kicha with a smile. The shop is not bad, it tastes good. The moment Zhao sat down, Jinrong wanted to go to the bathroom and deliberately nudged Zhao with a smile. He seemed to understand and went with him, and I saw everything. Was this guy up to something sinister? In the bathroom. Boss Mo, what's the matter? Zhao said. Do you know how to play hard to get? Jinrong said as he was washing his hands. I do, but are you asking me to neglect her for a while? Why are you helping me? Zhao didn't understand. I'm just pitying you. Girls like Kicha are very cold, but their hearts are warm. You should try it and see if it works. Jinrong left, leaving Zhao alone. When he came out, Anna grabbed his ear and pressed him against the wall. What lousy idea did you come up with for Zhao? Anna, let me go. I'm just giving him my opinion. When Anna wasn't paying attention, Jinrong pressed her against the wall, his breathing gradually approaching her face. If you want to embarrass me in front of so many people, then I won't hold back. Jinrong smiled evilly and gave Anran a passionate kiss. Zhao was startled when he came out. You learn from me. You'll be able to use it in the future. Jinrong smiled. Anran's face was flushed. Back in their seats, the three of them were a little uncomfortable. What's wrong? Shalai looked at their flushed faces. It looked like they put on makeup. Nothing, let's eat. Zhao buried his head into the food, and no one spoke at the dining table. After the meal, Zhao personally sent Kicha home. Don't worry, I won't confess to you today. Just treat it as our farewell meal. Zhao suddenly spoke. What? Brother, you're so confused. Shalai felt that her brother was too silly. How could he give up after working so hard? Kicha was also a little confused. Zhao, what's wrong? It's nothing. I just don't think there's any hope. Since you don't like me, it doesn't matter how hard I try. Get in, I'll drive you back. Zhao said, Kicha, you... Dear, let's go home. Jinrong covered Anran's mouth and dragged her into the car. Brother, are you alright? Did your brain get choked up with food? Shalai looked at her brother in a daze. Go home by yourself. Be careful on the road. Zhao shoved his sister unceremoniously into her car. You're prioritizing love over friendship. Shalai left after saying that. Chapter 451, The First Time. On the way out, Keechaw didn't say a word to Zhao Han. For some reason, she couldn't bear to part with him. At the door, Keechaw got out of the car and Zhao Han spoke to her affectionately. "I wish you happiness from now on." Keechaw's heart tightened and she suddenly felt her heart ache. She watched Zhao Han's cars leave slowly and had the urge to chase after him. However, she restrained herself and turned to go upstairs. She must be crazy. Why was her heart beating so fast? Back in the Mo residence, Anran was still angry about what happened. "Why did you stop me?" "And then I think it's better to let Keechaw discover her own heart. If she really doesn't like Zhao Han, she wouldn't feel anything. If she likes Zhao Han, she probably won't give up," Jinrong said. "You seem to be very experienced." Anran smiled, her voice interrogative. "No, love is like the business world. There's nothing secretive about it, right?" Jinrong carried Anran and threw her onto the bed, asking gently, "Are you ready today?" Anran thought about it, and she was about to reply when Jinrong pounced on her like a wolf. "Of course, but why don't you consider using this?" Anran took out some colorful condoms from her bag and placed them in front of him. "You carry these things with you?" Jinrong frowned. "They're just my emergency props. I usually use the gel inside as a lubricant. It's small, convenient, and easy to disguise. It's your lucky day. Pick one." Anran smiled and said, "We're married. Why do we need one?" Jinrong threw them away without a glance, picking Anran, and was about to pick her up to kiss. Suddenly, Anran's phone rang with a text. She didn't want to read it. Jinrong was in high spirits and threw her phone away, preparing to do it with her. The phone rang again. Anran could only reach for her phone. She saw that it was Kinshu's text. "It's time. Why aren't you here yet?" Anran looked at Jinrong, who was in high spirits and couldn't be disturbed. But it would be terrible if he really found out her secret. She tried her best to send a message. "Since you want to talk to me, you don't mind waiting a while, right?" She threw her phone aside and pounced on Jinrong. The two of them were like dry firewood and were aflame and difficult to extinguish. And then whispered in Jinrong's ears, "I'll give you an hour and a half to see your performance." Jinrong started work without a word. Kinshu was in the tea house, had been waiting for an hour. She gradually grew impatient and sent Anran a message. "Are you kidding me? I've been waiting for an hour." Anran's momentum was fierce, and she had no intention to stop it. She wanted to send Kinshu a message, but Jinrong didn't let her have a chance at all. The voices in the room fluctuated. She threw her phone away and stopped looking. Kinshu was still in the tea house and had drunk a few cups of tea, but Anran was still nowhere to be seen, so she sent for her another message. "If you don't come in half an hour, expose your secret," Kinshu threatened. Half an hour later, Jinrong finally ended the battle. Anran immediately took a shower and left the Mo residence as quickly as possible. Jinrong didn't react, thinking that she was embarrassed. He looked at the red stain on the bed and laughed. "Little girl." Anran rushed to the tea house with a disheveled hair and saw that Kinshu was about to leave. "What, you know how to actually arrive?" Kinshu sat down angrily and suddenly saw the kiss mark on Anran's neck. She clenched her fists tightly. "Are you fooling around with wild men? I didn't expect Jinrong's woman to be such a slut." Kinshu spoke rudely, but Anran wasn't angry. She was just curious as to why she said that. "Kinshu, I don't know what you want to say, but just say it. I have something to do." Anran spoke impatiently. She was in too much pain just now, and her back was sore. In her past life, she hadn't let Jinrong touch her, but now she knew how painful it was. "What's the matter?" "I think you just want to fool around with men." "Don't think I don't know about your nonsense. I'll leak it to others." Kinshu took out a check and handed it to Anran. "What are you talking about? Don't I know my own secrets? So go on, tell me which secret you have on me. Are you telling me to fill this check in myself?" Anran smiled and said, "The check is evidence of you leaving Jinrong. Take the money and get lost," Kinshu ordered. Anran thought about it and didn't stand on ceremony. She bent down and wrote a long string of 9s on the check. Do you think you're worth so much money?" Kinshu panicked. The check's upper limit was 1 billion. Anran actually wrote the limit. Yes, I'm valuable. But do you have this money? Anran asked. You shameless slut. You seduced all those men in the countryside, and yet you have the cheek to marry Jinrong and pretend to have a chaste woman. Now you're asking for so much money? Kinshu vented her anger. Kinshu, I wouldn't have tolerated you if you didn't have a heart problem. I don't know where you heard the gossip from, but I hope you can distinguish right from wrong. Anran wasn't angry. Right and wrong, you shameless woman, Kinshu stood up and cursed. Do you want me to tell everyone your secrets? Kinshu shouted like a lunatic. Anran just slapped her. Are you awake? I'll accept the money, so I'll go and get it from the bank. You dare to hit me? Kinshu couldn't believe she was slapped. If your parents don't educate you, I will. Anran turned around with a check. Oh, right, the news of you said is fake. You were tricked. She left after speaking. You still want to quibble? I'll tell Jinrong. I'll tell everyone. Kinshu's shouting made the people in the tea house stop what they were doing and look. After this, Anran went to several banks to retrieve the money on the check. She had exchanged more than 10 cash trucks. Boss, so much money? Skinny's eyes lit up. I'll give you a raise, don't worry, Anran smiled and said. She didn't know where the girl heard those rumors, but it didn't hurt to be scolded. $1 billion was a good thing. Boss, that woman seems to be very confident. That person must be behind this, right? Skinny was worried. You'll be in charge of following Kinshu and seeing who she interacts with, Anran arranged. There must be someone behind her. Okay, Fatty replied. Chapter 452 Framed. In the next few days, Kichao only went to the company and her house, but she kept feeling that something was missing and felt uncomfortable. When Anran said nothing to do with it, she would come to the company to have a date with Jinrong in the office and occasionally visit Kichao. Every time she saw her absent-mindedness, Anran knew that Jinrong's trick had worked. Anran, what's wrong with me? I did everything well, but I'm not just happy. I keep thinking that something's missing. Kichao drank her coffee and said, Did you think of anything? Anran asked from the side. That annoying person's face keeps appearing in my mind. Now, I can't even eat a burger because that burger had his face on it. It's so annoying, Kichao complained. Don't tell me you actually like that guy, Anran asked. How is that possible? It can't be. Kichao shook her head and hurriedly denied it. She was a celibate and would never marry or date. All right, I hope so, Anran smiled and said. Jinrong was waiting for Anran in the office because the first time made him feel good. He wanted to hug his wife every day. Mo-san, call Anran back, Jinrong said anxiously. Anran was drinking tea happily with Kichao when Mo-san came over with a smile. Young madam, the young master is looking for you. He said he has something to discuss with you. Did you see that? Jinrong really can't leave me alone now, Anran bragged. Go ahead, you useless person, Kichao teased and laughed. In the office, Jinrong pulled Anran over to the sofa and kissed her the moment she entered. Jinrong, this is the office. Aren't you afraid? What am I afraid of? Jinrong continued to kiss her when Kinshu suddenly barged in. Seeing this, she was furious and immediately pulled Jinrong up. What are you doing? She asked furiously. How did you get in? Who told you to barge in? Get out. Jinrong straightened his clothes and looked at her in shock. Boss Mo, she insisted on breaking in. We couldn't stop her. The receptionist ran in to explain. Trash, what are the security officers doing? Take her away. Jinrong was furious. Anran didn't dare to move. Anran didn't dare to move. She could only lie on the sofa, afraid that others would see her. Jinrong, you still don't know what kind of person your wife is, right? Kinshu said. I know her best. I don't need you to tell me. Jinrong was displeased. I'm guessing you really don't know. If you really knew, you wouldn't have treated Anran like this. She's a slut, Kinshu shouted. Shut up. I don't hit women, but don't force me. Jinrong spoke in a deep voice. Anran straightened her clothes on the sofa, sat up slowly, and smiled at Kinshu. Jinrong, open your eyes and take a look. That woman is simply a slut. She has seduced several wild men in the countryside, and now she's here pretending to be a chaste woman. She is cheating on your feelings, Kinshu cursed. Miss Kin, I don't know what charm my husband has for you, Or are you just unwilling to lose to me? Jinrong is just your trophy. I can't forgive you for this, but if you accuse me again, don't blame me for being rude. Anran said with a smile. Accuse? Do you dare to prove it or swear for it? Kinshu continued. Jinrong, please, you have to believe me. You're really being deceived by her. She had a good time with several old men in the countryside, believe me. Kinshu begged Jinrong to believe her. Miss Kin, where is the evidence? Anran leaned against the sofa with both hands and said. Kinshu was dumbfounded. She had been in the village these past few days, but hadn't found any evidence. She was just too anxious and couldn't wait to come over. Without evidence, it's a false accusation. I can let it go on the account for the 1 billion. You can leave now. Anran continued to speak. Jinrong, you were tricked. She's a shameless woman. She doesn't have any chasteness. Kinshu continued to curse. What are you waiting for? Take her away, Jinrong ordered. Your master, she has a heart problem. We wouldn't dare. Mosan spoke weakly. Trash. Kinshu, I can't let you insult my wife like that. I know her best. I don't know where you heard the news, but I'm indeed her first man and we are married. It's not a big deal, so please leave. Jinrong spoke bluntly. Good, Jinrong, you'll regret this. Kinshu looked at Anran with extreme jealousy. She turned to leave, followed by the security guard and assistant. You trust me so much? Anran smiled and tilted her head. Who am I to believe if I don't believe you? What did you mean by the 1 billion, though? Jinrong slowly bent down and asked. Kinshu found me a few days ago. She gave me a check for me to fill in and told me to take the money and leave you. I obviously wrote 1 billion yuan and took the check to the bank to get the money. It wouldn't be a waste if I didn't accept it. I, Anran, never let such promises. Anran spoke indifferently. Jinrong smiled disdainfully. What a liar. No wonder Kinshu was so angry. I didn't expect my wife to be so outstanding. Of course, but I don't know where Kinshu heard such words. If it weren't for the 1 billion, I wouldn't have forgiven her. Anran pouted. My wife is so magnanimous. Let's do it again. Jinrong pounced over again and Anran pushed him away. There's something I haven't asked you. Tell me, why do so many people like you, and why didn't you tell me about Chen Xiao? Anran suddenly remembered about that matter. I was afraid that you would be angry, Jinrong explained. Afraid I'd be angry? Am I not angry now? Anran questioned. Honey, don't be angry. I'll calm you down now, Jinrong said. He pushed her into the sofa. Anran didn't notice the message on her phone and was focused on Jinrong. At the Tan family, Yaxin had just finished dealing with Tan Shilin in the office. When are you going to help me? Are you lying to me? Yaxin was anxious. Her house was empty now, and it was all Anran's fault. You ask this question every time. Don't you find it annoying? Shilin said impatiently. Tan Shilin, are you really lying to me? Yaxin questioned. Chapter 453 Preferred. How can that be? I've always kept this matter in mind for you. Jinrong will probably be attending a business exchange tomorrow. When the time comes, you can just wait in the room. Tan Shilin spoke impatiently. Sure, I hope you won't disappoint me. Yaxin straightened her clothes and spoke calmly. She could only rely on herself now. When she came out of the room, Jiang Mei looked at her unhappily. Yaxin, what can't you do? You sure know how to seduce men. You subdued Mr. Tan so quickly. It's not that I'm capable, but it's just that you're old, she sneered. What did you say? Jiang Mei raised her hand to slap her, but was stopped by Tan Shilin. Stop, you're still fooling around in the company? Yaxin is mine, and you want to hit her? No one is allowed to bully her in the future. Mr. Tan, do you want her to be my successor? Jiang Mei frowned and looked at him angrily. What successor? Yaxin is outstanding, and it's my duty to put her in an important position. If you're dissatisfied, you can get out. Tan Shilin lectured angrily. What outstanding ability? Is it just that she's outstanding in bed? The moment Jiang Mei finished speaking, Tan Shilin slapped her. What nonsense are you saying? From now on, you are Yaxin's subordinate. Your salary and bonus will be deducted this month. Jiang Mei retorted after being beaten. Now that she was replaced, she couldn't suppress her anger in her heart. Needless to say, everyone in the company knows what you did with her. That girl's lewd voice has reached everyone's ears. Who doesn't know? Do you still want to hide it? Young May left angrily after speaking. Jackson, don't lie to her. From today onwards, you're my special assistant. Second only to one person. Sheelin touched her shoulder and smiled. Jackson didn't care about the position. As long as she got to Jinrong, the Mo family would be hers. At this moment, the front desk ran over to report. Boss Tan, we called you, but no one picked up. Miss Lee is here. Should we let her in? Miss Lee? Tan Xilin was a little dazed. Li Shishi, the assistant replied. Tan Xilin was furious. No, it isn't enough that she's an embarrassment. Tell her to get lost. He waved his hand and entered the office, closing the door. I'll go see her. Jackson smiled and followed the receptionist. Li Shishi was stopped in the hall. She was wearing branded clothes, sunglasses, and heavy makeup. Miss Lee, long time no see. Jackson went over to greet her. Li Shishi was disdainful. She was a big star, and this woman was just a mistress. How could she compare to her? Who do you think you are? Ask Tan Xilin to come out and see me. Li Shishi cursed. Miss Lee, are you still thinking about Mr. Tan? I heard that you're in a miserable state in the entertainment circle. Are you looking for Mr. Tan to invest in you? The starving camel is much bigger than a horse. I'm still better than you. Are you a young madam now? Will Master Tan accept you? Li Shishi smiled disdainfully. I'm sorry, I never thought of marrying Tan Xilin and becoming his wife. It's a pity that your dream was becoming a rich woman was shattered. Jackson continued to mock her. She was worse than a chicken now. Do you think I don't know that you just want to seduce Tan Xilin? I could tell long ago that you were pretty at such a young age, but aren't you just a lousy person? How dare you boast? Li Shishi despised this woman from the bottom of her heart. Miss Lee, I don't have time to bicker with you. Mr. Tan is very busy, and he doesn't have time to see you. You should go back, in case it gets ugly. Jackson gestured to the security officer to throw Li Shishi out. What are you doing? Let go of me. I want to see Tan Xilin, she shouted. No one can let her in again. Jackson turned to leave. The person below were discussing Jackson. Don't you know, Jackson and Boss Tan are very loud in the office. Young people. She's pretty, and even Jiang Mei was demoted. It looks like there's going to be a good show. They discussed her, but Jackson didn't take it to heart. Anren finally returned home at night. She sat on the bed and turned on her phone to see Kin Tai-Yan's message. I went to the hospital today. Your parents said that you were discharged already. Let's meet and talk. She didn't know where Kin Tai-Yan found her phone number, so she sent a message directly. What's there to talk about? Are you trying to take back the 1 billion your sister gave me? Forget it. No, let's meet and talk. Tai-Yan Cheyenne's tea house. Kin Tai-Yan took the initiative to invite her. Anna didn't know if it was a trap, but since he dared to take her to such a crowded place during the day, it wouldn't probably be a bad thing. It wouldn't hurt to meet him. She turned on her computer and Fatty sent her a message. Boss, Kinshu has been to your hometown these past few days. She seems to have been investigating you, but she's too stupid. She didn't find anything. It would be strange if someone with her brain could find anything out. Your main priority is to find the person behind her. From the looks at it, someone must have instigated her. Anran guessed, but these past few days she hasn't seen anyone except for going to the countryside. Is there any news of Sheng Li? Anran asked. Apart from us, there's another group of people watching him. I suspect that it's Jinrong's people. That's impossible. I would have known if Jinrong had sent someone. If it's not him, don't act rashly and continue to observe. Boss, Sheng Li hasn't made any big moves recently. Did we alarm him? Skinny suspected that this was the case since they noticed Sheng Li's actions the last time, but now they couldn't see anything. Probably not. This person is very good at hiding. He probably has a plan. I'm going to see Kin Tai-Yan tomorrow. Send someone to follow me. Fatty asked curiously, Boss? Jinrong seems to be having a cocktail party tomorrow. Aren't you going? Party? What party? Why didn't I know? Anran was a little confused. It's just a business gathering. I thought you would be there, but Fatty stopped talking. How did you know? Anna was the young lady of the Mo family. How would they know something she didn't? Zhao Ming was curious about Jinrong's schedule, so he searched around and found about the cocktail party tomorrow, Skinny said. You're not allowed to do that again. Jinrong mentioned a cocktail party to me. It's not a big deal. I won't be going, Anran explained. Chapter 454, She's Getting Married? This explanation was better concealed herself. She was the young lady of the Mo family. So how could there be anything she didn't know? Oh. They pretended to believe it, but no one took her seriously. Anran didn't know why Jinrong didn't tell her, but she believed that he had his own reasons. The next day, Anran went to Shang Taiyan's tea house. Qin Taiyan was waiting for her there. Tell me, what do you want? Anran looked around and saw that there wasn't anyone watching, so there shouldn't be a problem. Don't worry, I'm alone today. I know Shuer caused you trouble. My sister is stubborn, so please don't stoop down to her level. Qin Taiyan spoke. Don't worry, your sister is quite generous. How could I have minded when she gave me $1 billion? Anran smiled and said, Anran, I heard that you were drugged last time, and that's why you went to the hospital. Is everything all right? Qin Taiyan was concerned. Young Master Qin, why are you so concerned about me? Is there a conspiracy happening today? Anran looked at the hot tea. Anran, I hope that we can be friends. Our families might not get along, but this won't affect our relationship, right? Qin Taiyan spoke gently. Our relationship? We don't have a relationship. Last time, the Qin family framed my products and caused me a lot of harm. Anyway, I've already sued the company. If you're here because of this, don't waste your time. Anran took a sip of her tea and said, Anran, I told my sister and father not to do it, but they didn't listen to me. But it's indeed my fault for causing such a scene. I hope you can forgive me. Qin Taiyan still wanted to explain for his father and sister. It's not your fault, so what forgiveness is there? I just want an explanation from them, so don't worry, I won't ask for too much. Anran smiled. She had wanted an apology, but the Qin family didn't say anything. Anran, if there wasn't a grudge between our families, I think we could have been friends, right? Qin Taiyan looked up and asked affectionately. Of course, but there are no what-ifs. If your father and sister don't give up on the Mo family, we can never be friends. Anran ignored his affectionate gaze. You have to be careful of Sheng Li. Qin Taiyan blurted out, shocking Anran. What did you say? Why did he say that? She only knew that Sheng Li had signed an agreement with the Qin family to cooperate. She didn't expect Sheng Li to really cooperate with the Qin family. It's nothing. Mr. Mo has cooperated with us before. But I'm just doing this for the sake of the Qin family. Qin Taiyan didn't mind her question, but he seemed to be reminding himself. All right, Mr. Qin. Thank you for your reminder, but this doesn't change my understanding of the Qin family. I hope that your father knows his limits. Sometimes doing too much isn't beneficial to oneself. Also, watch after your sister. Don't even think about letting her snatch Jinrong away. He's mine. Anran warned. Is he really that good? Qin Taiyan muttered softly. What? What did you say? Anran lowered her head and asked. She really didn't hear what Qin Taiyan said. It's nothing. What do you like about Jinrong? He asked as he took a sip of tea. I just like him. There's no reason. Anran really couldn't answer his question. Perhaps in her past life, her fate with Jinrong was destined to be. In this life, she liked him for no reason, which couldn't be explained. Qin Taiyan was stunned. Perhaps there really wasn't a reason. After returning from the tea house, Qin Taiyan was silent. The moment he entered the house, he heard Qin Hao reprimanding Qin Shu. You useless thing. What's so good about Jinrong? Why are you so obsessed? I told you to let him go, but you didn't listen. Didn't the Qin family have no sense of shame? Dad, I thought I didn't like him, but I still like him. I can't control it. Qin Shu cried. Even if you can't control it, you have to. Won't I be embarrassed if we cause a scene in the Mo Corporation? Will others say that my daughter is useless and that all men in this world are dead? Qin Hao cursed. Dad, don't scold her. Qin Taiyan's heart ached for his sister. Don't worry about it. That brat spent $1 billion from the bank. That's $1 billion. That's my project funds, you useless brat. Qin Hao continued to curse. How would I know that she would want so much? I just wanted to name a price for her to leave. She's a slut, seducing men in the countryside, and now she wants to pretend to be a chaste woman. But Jinron didn't even believe it. She's so detestable. You're blaming others? I spoiled you. From today onwards, I'll find a good family for you to marry, and then you'll leave the house, so you can calm down. Kinhao thought that Kinshu was old enough and that it was time for find a good family for her to marry in. I don't want to. I'm not marrying anyone but Jinrong. Isn't it just $1 billion? It's not like our family doesn't have money, Kinshu shouted, and Kinhao was even angrier. Do you think my money comes from water? Let me tell you, there isn't any more money in the family. You have to get married. I really don't know what to do with such a stupid daughter. I know that I really don't know why you're so silly. Kinhao was so angry he couldn't speak anymore. He didn't expect to have such a stupid girl as his daughter. No wonder she couldn't beat Ayn Rand. Do you despise me too? Do you think that I can't beat that girl? Kinshu cried. She really didn't do anything wrong. She just made a mistake. You still don't recognize your own mistakes. Get back into your room. Kinhao held the chair and sat down slowly. The $1 billion made his heart ache, but that stupid girl made his heart ache even more. Dad, don't be angry. Shua is just confused. Treat the $1 billion as our pocket money. It's not like we don't have it. Kintayan comforted him. $1 billion! I spoiled her. I'm going to find her a good family in the next few days. This can't go on. Something is going to happen to her if this continues. Kinhao took out his phone and dialed a number. He chatted for a long time with the other person on the phone before hanging up reluctantly. Dad, who were you calling? Kintayan asked curiously. Wu Dailin. He's abroad. His son, Wu Qi, is returning from abroad. He is a graduate student from a famous university, and his family's business is big. It's just that his son is a little old. He's 30. But he's just right for Shuer. It's a good thing that he didn't request Shuer to have a child. Shuer isn't well. Isn't that good for her? Kinhao felt that it was difficult to find such a rich husband. Dad, are you referring to Uncle Wu, the man who forced his wife to death last year? She wasn't forced to death. She died of an illness. I don't care. How can my sister marry his son? Wasn't the incident with his family big enough? Kintayan was a little resistant. That person was older than him, and there were endless scandals in their family. Would his willful sister be alright if she married him? Dad, she's your biological daughter. She isn't your bargaining chip. You know the situation in his family. Something will happen to Kinshu sooner or later if she's like this. Wu Dalin is the best candidate, and he can restrain her personality. I'm not a cold-blooded father. Those are just rumors. We're friends, and I know everything about them. Don't worry, Shuer won't suffer, Kinhao promised. Chapter 555, Business Gathering. Dad, she is your biological daughter. Why are you punishing her into a fiery pit? You don't live in their house, so what they said might not be true. You can't treat Shuer like this. Kintayan was a little agitated. In business, his father could do anything, but she was his biological daughter. So why was he so cold-blooded towards her? Get out, it's settled. I'll let them meet in Wrong City in a few days. You have no right to speak here. Kinhao pointed at the door. Dad, stop talking. Get out and leave me alone. Kinhao was impatient. Kintayan was chased out, but he wouldn't admit defeat so easily. His sister wouldn't marry into such a bastard family. Jinron was wearing a suit at home, preparing for the banquet. Young master, isn't it inappropriate to conceal this from young madam? Rosan put on his tie worriedly. It's just a cocktail party to attract business. Why should I tell her? I heard that there is a tender in the Entertainment City project, and the person in charge will be coming to the cocktail party. We must get the Entertainment City project. Jinron straightened his suit seriously, not a single wrinkle on his clothes. The Entertainment City project is a big project, and many companies want a piece of it. Even those from other provinces are here. I'm afraid it won't be easy for us. Mo-san unbuttoned Jinran's shirt and continued speaking. That means that the project is worth it. I don't want any extra moves from the Mo Shengli. Tell Grandma to keep an eye on him. It's best if he doesn't go out today, in case he ruins my plans. Jinran was afraid that Shengli would cause trouble and disturb his cocktail party. Don't worry, Mrs. Mo is very shrewd. She has already gotten someone to keep an eye on him. I don't think she'll let him off today, Mo-san said. That better be the case. It's getting late. You can drive. Jinran stood in front of the mirror, straightened his tie, got into Mo-san's car, and went to the gathering. The gala was held at Shangyang Hotel. Today, many people were here from the Entertainment City project, so there were many people. Young Master, there are so many people today. They're all here for the Entertainment City project. Is the person in charge here? Jinran turned his head and looked around, but it didn't seem to see the key person. There were many people who were coming to curry favor him, handing over their name cards. The Entertainment City project was proposed by a foreign company, the L Group. The person in charge seems to be a young man called Shi Li. He is said to be from the prestigious family, and his family company is one of the top companies in the world. That's why he proposed such a big entertainment project. Mo-san spoke softly. These people are too annoying. Jinran didn't like to be surrounded by so many people. He walked to the side impatiently, but Mo-san stopped him. Sorry, everyone. I'll keep your names first. If you need anything, our young master will contact you. Don't crowd around. Mo-san politely dissuaded the surrounding people. At this moment, Zhao Han walked over quietly. He was here on the behalf of the Zhao family to discuss the Entertainment City project, but he had his own selfish motives. He hadn't received any reply to the plan Jinran had given him last time, so he was a little uncertain. Boss Mo, there hasn't been any news from Ki-cha since the plan you gave me last time. I wonder how Ki-cha is doing. Does she miss me? He asked in embarrassment. Jinran looked up and saw Zhao Han. In 3 days, you can create a chance encounter, and you'll know the results if you want. Boss Zhao, you're here to gather information for the entertainment project? Both the Entertainment City project is too big. With the Zhao family's ability, we definitely can't take all of it. But it's good to have some soup. Boss Mo, it seems that you're determined to win today. Are you going to take it all and not give us a chance? Zhao Han felt that Jinran was here today to take over the Entertainment City project. The Mo Corporation was powerful enough, and if they took this deal, they might even earn more than 10 billion yuan. I have the intention to take over this project, but there are so many people here today. If Boss Zhao is willing, I'm willing to leave the last mouthful for you. Jinran stood up, looked in a direction, and spoke coldly. Zhao Han turned his head and saw Shi Li walk in. The moment Shi Li walked in, he became the center of attention. Everyone was staring at him, with many people surrounding him, handing over their name cards, wanting to win the Entertainment City project. But strangely, he didn't even glance at them, walking straight towards Jinran. Hello, I am Shi Li. He stretched out his hand to shake Jinran's. Jinran was taken aback as he shook his hand. Boss Shi knows me? He asked curiously, and looked at Shi Li's gaze. He seemed to have known him for a long time, and this time he ignored everyone and walked straight towards him with a clear goal. I can't say that I know you, but everyone knows Jinran. I've heard your name a long time ago. It wasn't easy to bring the company to the top 3 in just a few years. I heard that you were here today, and I have wanted to meet you for a long time. Is Boss Mo interested in my Entertainment City project? The Entertainment City project is very big. As long as you complete the project in 7 years or so, you will be earning more money than 10 billion. Not to mention, after you recoup your losses, you'll earn even more. Who present isn't interested in your Entertainment City project? Jinran asked. My Entertainment City project hasn't officially entered the bidding stage. It seems that Boss Mo is determined to win, Shi Li said with an unfathomable smile on his face. I'm not sure, but I am indeed very interested in your project. I wonder if you have time to talk to me in detail. With Jinran's invitation, the people behind couldn't take it anymore. They were also here to discuss the Entertainment City's project, and now they had been snatched over by Jinran. What chance did they have? Boss Mo, your family is big and powerful. Even a small family like ours needs to eat. We're here today for the Entertainment City project too. You have to leave us some soup to chew on, right? An unknown small boss vented his grievances and dissatisfaction. Boss Mo, since everyone wants to compete for the Entertainment City project, why don't we sit down and discuss it? You can't monopolize it all. Shi Li took the wine from the person beside him and drank a mouthful. Boss Shi is right. Since everyone is here for the project, why don't we sit down and have a good talk, Jinrong said.